Hi, it's 1010, and I am here today to discuss a little bit more about the Jupiters. And this video is going to briefly touch on the Jupiter's dietary laws. And as you know, or if you are aware of the Jewish dietary laws, I'm actually looking at the jewishvirtuallibrary.org. At the overview of Jewish dietary laws and regulations. Kashrut is the body of Jewish law dealing with what foods can and cannot be eaten and how those foods must be prepared. Now, as you know, I have a suspicion, and based upon the evidence that keeps populating, that the Jews are from the planet Jupiter. And I don't believe that health is the main reason for Jewish dietary laws. The laws of the Kashrut have no known connection with health. So here's my hypothesis on that. If you come from a specific planet or habitat, let's use the monkey as an example. But monkeys eat fruits, vegetables, and bugs. You introduce something to them that's outside of their habitat. Fish, I'm guessing. It might change their body. It might fight against their natural bodily responses. So I believe the reason why they observe these laws, it has to do with their DNA. Now, a lot of the animals that the Jupiters eat, I believe it's those with the hooves, the split hooves, and they chew the cud. Some of the animals here on this planet could actually be from their planet, or these animals that they have found on this planet are suitable and don't manipulate their DNA. That being said, I want to point out two major factors as to why I'm coming to this particular conclusion. Animals that cannot be eaten. I want to talk about shellfish, lobsters, oysters, shrimp, clams, and crabs. Bottom dwellers, they would say, because they eat whatever's at the bottom of the ocean. Now, I think about the horseshoe crab, octopus, squid, the king scorpion. I think it's the octopus that has blue blood. Anyway, a lot of these creatures are original to this planet. And crabs, lobsters, horseshoe crabs have been around here since the dinosaurs. So those things are forbidden. And a lot of bugs, rodents, reptiles, predatory animals here on this planet are forbidden. Pig is not kosher. And that's a whole nother topic because it is very close to human DNA. Thus, giving me the perspective that the Jupiters follow this diet because they do not want to have their DNA manipulated. They don't want to have their pure bloodline to be tainted with the animals, insects of this planet that they are not originally from. If I was to go to Jupiter, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of animals and vegetables and plants that I could not eat. So I would have to figure out what would be considered kosher or acceptable. The word kosher comes into play because the word kashrut comes from the Hebrew meaning fit, proper, or correct. So we're talking about food that is fit for their bodies, their DNA. And according to this Jewish virtual library, it's not about health benefits. And we know that in the Bible and even in the Talmud, the Jupiters spend an extensive amount of time. Now, these are ones that practice it. I understand there are Jupiters that don't practice, but the ones that do practice, they spend an extensive amount of time, a religious amount of time when it comes to the food preparation. The term religious, in my opinion, is doing something frequently that it almost becomes worship-like. It becomes a day-to-day thing. So I drink coffee every morning. That's religious for me. I take a shower every day. That's religious for me. Same thing when it comes to how they prepare their food. Who slaughters the animal? Now, let's talk about slaughter. Let's talk about draining of the blood. These animals have to be slaughtered kosher. They can't eat animals that died of natural causes or were killed by other animals, which means they have no diseases or flaws in the organs at the time of the slaughter. Now, there is a ritual slaughter, which is called sheklata. Now, they say it's painless, but I don't think any of them have had their throat slit before. It's a method of slaughter which is quick, deep stroke across the throat with a perfectly sharp blade with no nicks or unevenness. Now, they say this method is painless. It causes unconsciousness within 2 seconds and is widely recognized as the most humane method of slaughter possible. Okay. Now, the draining of the blood. This is the most important part of their diet. They cannot consume blood because life of the animal is contained in the blood. And when you drink blood or you eat blood, you take in the DNA of that animal. Whether you want to believe that or not, it's up to you. Everything that the Jupiters do is based upon keeping their race pure, their genes pure. They want to survive. So I was thinking about the 144,000 male virgins, and I thought, what if it has nothing to do with sex? We think of virgin, we think of sexual, we think of sex in nature. But what if it's virginal as in their DNA is kept pure? Probably more leaning towards that. Now, there's a few other things. I would suggest you go in and, you can look to see more about their dietary laws. But I've mentioned before, when it comes to the Jupiters, their Talmud, their way of life is based upon preserving their DNA, their history. Also, they can't have blood transfusions. I know some of them marry outside of their culture, or their ethnicity, and they're given that right to do so. Some, Jupiters eat like the rest of us here on this planet, but there are certain ones that observe these practices that, in my opinion, were created to ensure that the day that they would get their new heaven and new earth, which is here, could be another planet too, that they keep themselves genetically uncontaminated from the rest of the human population and the organisms and the beings that are part of this earth and its ecosystem. And that, I think, is all I have to talk about when it comes to their diet. And I also want to point out too that the Muslims, or the Saturnians, they follow a similar diet, and they themselves also are trying to keep their DNA pure as well. But I think that the Jupiters are a lot more aggressive when it comes to what they can eat or not eat. I also wanted to make mention too, I forgot to add this to the Jupiter ascending video that I did. In the beginning of the movie, there's a planet and it's empty, and you can see that inhabitants were there, but it looked like what to be a harvest or a rapture. The Bible talks about a rapture, that some will be taken. And in that movie, they take the humans or whomever belongs on that planet, the terrestrials, and they utilize their energy, their youth, their genes, because we know that humans and other creatures in this galaxy create energy. You are a walking ball of energy. And I just thought that was really interesting, because then it correlated against the Bible about the rapture, and some will be taken and some will be left behind, but it looked like pretty much the whole planet was taken from there. But I hope to have a little bit more information on this subject too. So grapes are a huge part as well of the Jupiter's diet. And the Jupiters can only eat grapes that are created, worked on, tilled by other Jews. And they don't accept any non-Jew grapes, non-Jewish grapes, or those that, like myself, if I had a grape orchard, I apologize if I'm not using the correct terms. If I offend anyone, I apologize. They would not accept that from me because I am not Jewish. It is important to their way of life. Now, certain things I looked at and I'm like, I don't understand it. But, as time goes on, just like with most religions, it starts out from something happening in their past, and then it becomes a religion, a religious exercise. So the same thing when it comes to the boxes that are on their forehead and their hand, and they pray, that's a part of their religion. That's a part of their remembrance. The same thing when it comes to their food. It is a part of their life, and it's become their religion. And it wasn't supposed to be a method of worship, if that makes sense. It was supposed to be a method, this creation of the Bible, or the Talmud, I should say. The Talmud is the Jewish documents, not the Bible. Is supposed to be a remembrance and a playbook, and their way of life, so that they can be differentiated from the rest of the humans. Because just because another extraterrestrial species comes to this planet doesn't mean they're going to look different than us. We can look very similar to one another, but not be the same, not be from the same planet. And a lot of times we see these movies and it talks about they're hidden among us. Anyway, let me know what y'all think. Have a great day.